name is Kat, and today I want to talk about some of my favorite books that center around mythology and retellings. So this video includes a paid promotion with Disney Book Group to celebrate Arusha and the End of Time by Roshni Chokshi. This book just came out on March 27th, and it's the first in what is going to be a middle grade quartet that focuses on Hindu mythology. It's also the first book released in Rick Riordan's new imprint, Rick Riordan Presents. I am so excited about this imprint because I love Rick Riordan. I think he's doing an amazing job with Greek and Roman and Norse mythology, but I am really excited to see other mythologies presented in the same fun and accessible way as Rick Riordan's books, but these stories are coming from authors who share a cultural background with the mythologies. Like here we have Roshni writing about Indian mythology, and there's also 2 more series in the works, one that focuses on Mayan gods and one that focuses on Korean folklore. And I am just here for all of it. With this book in particular, I am excited to see more of this mythology that I'm really unfamiliar with. And also, Arusha just sounds like my kind of protagonist. You see, she kind of has a bad habit of, let's say, embellishing the truth. Ooh, why you lying? It's actually Aru getting kind of caught in a lie that kicks off her whole adventure. Why you always lying? So in honor of our young lying protagonist, I have been asked to play a quick game of 2 truths and a lie with you guys. So here we go. Over the last 7 years, I've only owned 2 cell phones, and they both still work perfectly. I have only ever lived in the state of California, born and raised 30 years. I was briefly in a punk rock band in high school. I played the keyboard. We were not good. So yeah, you guys can guess which one is the lie down in the comments on this video just for fun. But if you want to enter a giveaway to maybe win a copy of Arusha and the End of Time, then I want you guys to guess over on my Instagram post where I'm giving away a copy. I'll put all the details and the link and stuff down below so you can check that out if you are interested in winning this book. Not this one exactly. This copy is mine. You'll get your own. And now let's get into the rest of the video. Let's jump into this roundup of other mythology and retelling books that I love. So first up, I of course have to mention again Rick Riordan, because he's just the mythology king in the YA middle grade world at this point. I love Rick Riordan's books, mostly because I just think he's hilarious. Like, his sense of humor is so clever and just so funny to me. I have never read a Rick Riordan book that did not make me laugh out loud at least a couple times. After reading like 15 of his books, I still am not really sure which of his series is my favorite. I think that my favorite series might be the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, the original 5-book Greek mythology series, which I don't have right now. It's like in storage somewhere. But it's really hard to choose because I think that like that series might be the best series overall, but I really love his more recent series, like especially Magnus and Apollo, because both of those characters are so different from Percy, and I love both of those series as well, and the Heroes of Olympus, which had a great scope to it. I just read Rick Riordan if you haven't, and you like mythology, and you like funny books, because his are great. The next series that I want to talk about is another kind of like obvious go-to recommendation when you're talking about fairy tale retellings, and that is the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. I adore this series. It is one of my favorite series of all time, and it's a fantastic series if you like fairy tale retellings, but it's also just pure excellence even if you don't like fairy tale retellings. It's just an epic, brilliant series that mashes together so many of my favorite things. I love the characters. I love that there's like fantasy elements and sci-fi elements and dystopian elements. It's just an amazing, amazing series, and I highly recommend it to anyone who has not yet read it because it's great. I love this series. The next book that I have here is Geekerella by Ashley Poston. I think it's pretty obvious that Geekerella is a Cinderella retelling, but what might not be obvious at first glance is how amazing this book is. Like, I personally am not actually a huge fan of Cinderella retellings. It's one of my least favorite fairy tales to be, like, retold in book or movie form. But this book, I adored. It's set in the modern world, and it's kind of set in the world of fandom. It's like a love letter to fandom, essentially, with Cinderella retelling framework, and it's so good and cute and funny and adorable, and I loved this book so much. The next book that I have here is maybe a little bit of a stretch to be included in this video, but I kind of count it as mythology, and also I just really want more people to read The Call by Pater O'Gillen. I don't know if most of you guys would count fae as, like, mythology, but with this book specifically, it's really rooted in Irish mythology and the fairies of Ireland, and I feel like it has a more mythology feel to it than just your typical fairy story. I don't know. If you want to read a dark, twisted, creepy book that just has fascinating and horrifying Irish fae mythology, this book, you have to read it. It's so good. It's so good. The next retelling that I want to talk about is not a fairy tale retelling. It's more of like just a historical retelling, and that is And I Darken by Kiersten White. This is a historical trilogy that follows the life of Vlad the Impaler, except in this retelling, Vlad is not a man. He is a woman, and she is dealing with the struggles of being a woman in this time period, but also having that same ruthlessness and ambition of Vlad the Impaler. I loved this first book. I haven't read the second book yet. The first book, though, was fantastic. It's beautifully written, it's very atmospheric, and I just love the world of the story, and I love the characters. There's like a sibling relationship is one of the central relationships in this book, and there's so much history, and it's just so intriguing. Lotta, the main character, based off of Vlad the Impaler, is so fascinating and badass, and I cannot wait to see where the series goes. Because I don't know where the story goes in history. Like, I'm super unfamiliar with what was happening in this time period. But yeah, anyways, the first book was excellent, and I am very much looking forward to reading books 2 and 3. The next series that I want to talk about is this fairy tale retelling series by Jackson Pierce. I'm not sure if the overall series has a name or if it's like just the Sisters Red series. And I've actually only read the first 2 books, so I can't quite recommend the series as a whole, but these 2 books were great. I loved both of these books. I read them quite a while ago, like kind of before BookTube and the beginning of BookTube, so I feel like I haven't talked about them much, but I adored these books, like especially Sisters Red. It was one of my favorites of the year that I read it. And finally, I gotta mention A Court of Thorns and Roses and A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. Now, these books are definitely for an older audience. Like, I wouldn't recommend these to young readers or readers who are uncomfortable with sexual situations, but if you like that kind of stuff, these books. Book 1 is kind of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and then book 2 is kind of a Hades and Persephone retelling, and then book 3 is, I don't think, a retelling of anything, but I might be wrong. I feel like it's not, though. That's why I'm not holding it up. I personally didn't get any retelling vibes from it when I was reading it. Like, I don't know what story it would have been inspired by. But these two books, you can definitely see the fairy tale or mythology inspirations, and I really enjoy that aspect. But for the most part, I just really love the world and the characters of this series, particularly the main couple of the series, which I don't want to give away too much because it's better to just go in and read this and like experience it yourself if for some reason you've been sleeping on this series. All right, there you have it. Those are all the books I had for this roundup video today, and that is gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a great night, and I will have another video up soon, so I will see you then. Bye!